Is it hot in here? Emotet overheats computers to take down an organization.
So, Mike, you've got a story, it seems, about Emotet, and we know Emotet is a fairly common malware, but it sounds like in this case, the malicious effect was a little bit above and beyond what usually happens with an Emotet infection, right?
Yeah, this one's interesting. So as you mentioned, kind of this Emotet infection in this company organization. The article actually kind of changes the name, just that makes up a name, so they don't actually call out who it was. But yeah, Emotet essentially took down the entire network by overheating all the computers, all the servers, by literally maxing out CPU and basically brought their entire infrastructure to a crawl. So the article talks through kind of the timeline of this infection. It started out with targeted phish employee that kind of got their initial foothold. They exfiltrated those credentials, eventually phishing a handful of other employees. Basically, within 8 days, all the PCs started overheating or freezing or rebooting or blue screening. And the article kind of talks about how it just basically was chaos. They had no idea what was happening, if it was something external, if it was something that was basically moving around through the network. They ultimately brought in the Microsoft Defense and Response, the DART team, to do some consultation. And effectively, they mentioned that the malware, some of the behavior matched similar to an outbreak in the Allentown, Pennsylvania government back in 2018. But essentially, it evaded all the antivirus, all their firewalls. Microsoft made some recommendations in the article that you should look at using email filtering to detect phishing. Make sure you're using and adopting multi-factor whenever you can to reduce the usage of these stolen credentials.
Yeah, so do we understand exactly why it maxed out the CPU? Was that some intentional function of this specific type of Emotet, or was this something that it just didn't interact properly with the system, or what's going on here?
Yeah, so from what I can tell from the article, it seemed like it was actually purposeful kind of effect of this specific malware. They talked about basically all the internet connections kind of slowed down. You couldn't send email. Effectively froze, basically their entire network and infrastructure.
So Emotet is sort of getting a reputation for having interesting side effects, or at least interesting techniques that it uses. There was a Wi-Fi spreader module for Emotet, and I know that right now it does have the ability to move laterally within networks by stealing credentials, which is a little above the average malware, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, they mentioned all these different kind of mutations that they have now, and the article even talks about some of the severe outcomes that have been observed for companies that have been infected.
All right. So if you were an admin of a corporate network and you were tasked with dealing with Emotet, what could you do ahead of time to defend yourself from a situation like this?
Yeah, so obviously keep your antivirus up to date. Again, kind of like Microsoft recommends. That initial phish was kind of kind of how they got a foothold. So filtering out any phish attempts that are related, and make sure that you're encouraging, enforcing, if you can, MFA. So any credentials aren't able to be fully utilized to gain additional access and do that initial lateral movement.